Welcome to Talking Impact, your go-to podcast for exploring the powerful connection between mental health, education, and resilient youth. Join us as we uncover insights and stories that inspire classrooms, stronger minds, brighter futures, and a lasting impact in our society. Welcome to another episode of Talking Impact. Today's episode is part 2 of a 2-part series that was filmed at a recent event that we held celebrating 30 years of Impact Society's work, supporting nearly 300,000 students across Canada. We know that the mental health and addictions crisis is affecting everyone in our nation, in our homes, in our communities, and in the systems that we see. The second part is with 3 amazing facilitators who've been teaching Heroes for years across Canada. Neil Hawking from New Brunswick, J.O. Lane from here in Calgary, as well as Preston Huppy from Calgary as well. In this conversation, we're going to get into what happens in the classroom, how Heroes is such an effective tool to support young people, to give them confidence, character, integrity, and a sense of purpose, so that they have that internal resilience and that concept of who they are, so that they can achieve their dreams and at the same time navigate a world that's full of risk. Listening to this episode, you're going to hear from educators who are working every day in the school system, on the front line, if you will, of the next generation, supporting them. So often we think about treating the symptoms of mental health, of addictions, fixing systems and hospitals, but it starts in the classroom. It starts with the people who are working with young people early and often to help them build confidence, character, integrity, purpose, to develop the long-term resilience required to not just avoid the risk, but to navigate it in the direction of purpose. If you're an educator, this episode is going to give you an inside look into how the Heroes program can help bring out the best in those young people in your classroom and help change them for the better, for the long term. We often think of hospitals and addiction counselors and crisis centers as the front line in this epidemic of mental health and addictions that we see. But really, if we're going to get ahead of the curve, we need to get into the classroom, the real front line, where young people are being equipped with and supported by their educators to build the tools and the self-confidence and the mental health required to be able to navigate the challenges that are ahead.
Our second panel is going to give us a ground level view of the Heroes program from the schoolroom perspective, and here on the stage are 3 educators who have witnessed the Heroes program in action. Please welcome Neil Hawking, J.O. Lane, and Preston Huppy. So I'm going to get started with Neil first. Can you offer a quick description of what the Heroes program is and some examples of how you've seen it make a real difference in your school? Please.
Well, here's the thing. That was kind of loud. I've rewritten my thoughts 15,000 times whilst I was listening to this whole thing. But I could tell you the whole structure of the program, but that's not what you want to hear. You want to hear the stories. You want to hear the good stuff, right? And so when I saw Robin today, if you don't know, he's a hockey player, but I only know him as part of the Heroes program. And I only know him because of the resilience he went through, because I don't know if everyone in this room knows, there was a head-on collision, and near enough his whole hockey career was going to be wiped out, right? So I was so excited to see you, and I'm a little bit nervous right now, sorry. But so excited to say that the kids that I've been teaching the Heroes program to is they don't know you as a hockey player, they know you because of your story and the gasps in the room when there's that plot twist of that fatal night or afternoon coming back from water skiing or whatever happened, right? So I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your story and how much of an impact that's made on many students in New Brunswick. So let's just give him... He gets clapped for his hockey achievements on a regular basis, but the impact he's made on kids in New Brunswick and the classes that I've been facilitating for Heroes. The other one is having these kids that come in to the classroom and they sit at the back of the class. They got their hoods up. And I don't want to have that battle with them. They sit at the back. And then gradually, as the weeks and the chapters go through, they're getting closer and closer to the front. And suddenly that hood is taken down. So it's kind of like bring their walls down. I went to summer camp as a kid, And whenever I'm feeling a little bit anxious or sick, I put on my Winoki sweater and put my hood up and I pull the strings really tight and I sit and watch my favorite movies. So that's what it is, the comfort zone, and gradually those walls are taken down. And that's what the Heroes program does. It gives you the chance to have the conversations that you don't normally have in the classroom environment. It's a conversation box. It's a way for students to really find out their true identity. And the other thing I want to mention tonight was there's 3 students at the back there, and I felt more comfortable talking to them tonight than I did the hierarchy of Calgary right here. So I spoke to them and I said, listen, what's your favorite part of the program? And straight away, it was almost like they rehearsed their answers. Tap Roots, I got the names here. Might as well bring up their names as well. They read, what was it? Shaylee, she said the walls. So we talked about that. It's walls around your character and then gradually breaking down those walls. The other one was Brianna, and she said, talking about what is a balcony friend. And that is someone that pulls you up rather than a basement friend that pulls you down. Oh, that's very sensitive to the word. Okay. Julia, she said about tap roots and the supports as well. Oh, God, stop saying the P word. Okay. Hopefully does that answer your question? I feel like that was better than me telling them what the...
Oh, for sure. I remember hearing one story about a kid who had been in the Heroes program and started high school as a young offender and finished as a student body president. So stories like that are fascinating and inspiring, and we love to hear them. But Jay, I want to ask you if you can tell us from the students' perspective, what did they say about the Heroes program?
Sorry. Definitely right. My apologies. Okay. I kind of feel to my 3 students in the back that I should just be like, yeah, we should hear from you and just bring them up here, but they would probably kill me. So I won't do that to them. It's amazing to see all of you here and to hear the experts up here and to hear that side of it. I'm really lucky. I get to play with kids every day, and I get to see them choose to take healthy risks. And it's the environment that they're in that they'll choose to take that healthy risk or choose not to. And I really believe that the Heroes program, I swear I'm not going to get emotional because I'm a big baby, is that so often it creates an environment where it's safe. And they can look at their gifts and abilities and they can say, okay, I'm good at that. Maybe I've always been told I suck at math or I suck at this or I have a learning disability or whatever. But I'm really a caring person and I'm there for my friends. Or I'm really resilient when this happens. And I've been at SJM or Sir Johnny MacDonald for 19 years, and it's incredible to be at one space for that long because kids know where to find you. A month ago, I was sitting in the staff room eating lunch. Secretary came back and said, "There's a man here to see you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I think I'm okay." And I came out, and there's a big grin on this tatted up guy, Mr. Elaine. And I'm like, oh my God, how old are you now? 26. What are you doing? I'm an electrician up north at Fort Mac. And he's like, I was on my days off, and I just wondered if you were still here. And it was a moment of, look what I did. And he's someone, oh yeah, I'm going to hear about this tomorrow. He's someone that struggled in school, that didn't necessarily see it in himself. And he found it. And when he found it, he was proud of it. And then there was no going back. And we can build resiliency through programs, through this or that, and if I were to get up and write it on the board, but having that book that they can refer to and the amount of kids that come back to say, hey, I looked at my book from grade 7. I can't believe what I thought then and what I thought now, and who I was then and how I am now. And I tell people I have the most selfish job in the world. I get to see that on a daily basis. When you see those kids that don't believe in themselves, and then it clicks, it's amazing. Before I came here tonight, I've got a box of old stuff and letters that kids have written. And Carla, I'll never forget her. She was my most timid kid and beginning of Heroes. And I was like, I want this to be a space for you that you find your voice. And maybe you're that person that's never really spoken up. And she, in that moment, I don't know what clicked. She felt safe with that class and whatever. And we're reading through one of the stories. And it was like, who wants to read the next paragraph? And her hand went up, and I was like, everybody shut up. I swear to God, shut your mouths. Carla, would you like to read? And she read it, and it was beautiful. And she found that in that moment. She wrote me a letter, grade 9, so that was grade 7, talking about how specifically in Heroes she found her confidence. And it's those moments that it's like that kid could have just gone through thinking for so long, but she found it. And I feel silly being up here because I just get to go and do this stuff with them. And I get to enjoy it while you guys are doing the hard work and fighting policy. But we've been very fortunate that we've been helped out. We're at a low-income school, and we've been provided with books since I can remember when we said, hey, we can't pay for this. The TOS, they came out and supported us. Sorry, I rambled.
I might just ask one follow-up question, and that is, I was reading today about the correlation between confidence and competence. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. Wow. This is intense. Confidence and competence. I think competence it's a relative term. And I think that we always talk in my school about it doesn't matter where you're at, get better. So your competence at one point, okay, if you're measuring by yourself, you can always grow your confidence because you're measuring from yourself. If I'm looking at hockey across here, I'm a wounded giraffe on skates. So if I measure myself next to somebody that is much more competent, well, I'm going to feel terrible about myself. But if I measure, I'm terrible at skating, but I'm going to get better for me, then it builds confidence, and that confidence builds more confidence. And it's just a cyclical, again, we have kids all the time that don't have that confidence, and it's just getting them to try. It's like, just try. I swear, you're going to enjoy it. And if you just try that little bit, and then it clicks, and then they get it, and then it's like they try more, and it just builds and builds.
Thank you. Preston, can I ask you about the impact of the Heroes program from your perspective on both Indigenous and non-Indigenous youth, and what the differences might be between those two audiences?
Yes, definitely. Hi, thank you. Thank you for inviting me, actually, to be here with everyone here. And I've been with Heroes now for since Kihiwan Cree Nation, where I started my education career. With actually Wayne Hammond was the person that came out to do facilitating there. And from there, we're building our resiliency, because honestly, we had our panels of psychologists and mental health supports here that were talking about all of those resiliencies, the intergenerational traumas, and really, it's stemming from, and we all know this, it's stemming from residential schools. It's stemming from the loss of language, culture, and traditions. And the fact that a lot of our parents, Indigenous parents from the past, I'll even speak to my parents, have lost those parenting skills. So then passing on those to their kids and then having those grow up to be resilient to pass on to their kids didn't happen. It didn't happen to me. I had to really, really build my own resiliency, let's say, but it was tough, perhaps even without having Heroes. So for me to be an educator from where I came from, and then to have, the Heroes program come to us, to this school, to help to build that resiliency, to give those words that we never really thought of before: circumstances, taproots, water. My Lord, water is so important. Water is life, but it's our gifts and our abilities. We don't waste water. We don't waste our gifts and abilities. Those kinds of words, that kind of positive mindset is not necessarily heard every day. Perhaps even with us here, we need to hear that every day. And so building up that mental resiliency in order for our brain to get past that point where, oh, I got to get this. And then our brain actually clicks and says, I can do it. And that really, we're really getting away and building the resiliency for those acute responses, those acute stress responses. I'm a mental health go-to educator as well. So I'm actually throwing those words out there because we need to know what that mental health literacy is too. Heroes provides that. The education facilitator provides that with stories as well. And I believe that what you mentioned too was about stories. Robin, my Lord, I read your story, students read your story, and they were inspired by them. Not only your stories, but all the stories that are in there, including the facilitator stories. We brought in our own to be vulnerable in front of those kids. And if we're vulnerable in front of those kids, it builds that resiliency to say, yeah, we can take those steps and continue on to build the confidence and to have competencies as well. But you know what? Our kids are suffering, especially after COVID, right? And the fact that not only Heroes, but mental health in general is such a big, big thing that we need. Even more now. We see it in our kids that are struggling. They come to us with no tools to know the circumstances that they're in and how that they can actually just kind of navigate their life. Navigate with resiliency, with those tools, knowing what kind of values that you live by. Knowing those friends, those balcony friends. And I love to do the stories when you're sitting beside, right? Oh, come on down. Come and cheat with me. Those kinds of stories. They love that because it's being vulnerable too. And we are being vulnerable in that way. But then they have that ability because we provide that safe space and those brave spaces as well for our students. From there, they build that resiliency. They keep on going. They have those tools. So I was teaching them in grade 6, let's say 2 years ago, then I hand them off to this guy. And this guy kept on going, right? He's like, you know that stuff? But you built on that as well, right? So it not only gave them the tools when they went to junior high, but it also said, okay, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for anything that's going to happen within not only elementary, junior high, but also high school and moving forward in our lives. So if there's anything similar or differences, there's really not necessarily anything that's different. The only difference is the background, the legacies of where Indigenous peoples come from, and the fact of the legacies from residential schools, and how that's not only being built for me as a parent, perhaps my Muslim Kukums, and also those survivors of residential schools as well. They need to know how to build resiliency as well. So if we have our students coming home talking like this, that does it as well. I would say that would probably be the only difference, but everyone is still in the same boat. Where all students have I'm not going to say that, but they need that support more than others. And then that's what we give them. So, being part of that and being part of this group for the last, oh my Lord, like 13 years now, 15 years, and being on a panel and an advisory panel is an awesome job. And I know that it's going to be beneficial for students moving forward as well, but also for parents and for the community like you guys, right? And I reached out to Jordan. I need some books. We're going to do this in CN Gun. Oh, yeah, we'll do it. We'll deliver the books, and it's all for free. I'm like, what? We don't pay for anything? No. Wow, low income, right? It worked perfectly. So I thank you for that.
Thank you. So I'm curious about, there's a little microcosm going on in terms of what happens in schools and kids in schools, but what about outside of schools and the community at large? What needs to happen beyond the school system for whatever impact Heroes is having to trickle into the community and vice versa. What would you say about that? Anyone?
My apologies, I talk too much. It's interesting, like hearing about CN Gun, and I see it transfer over. So I asked the kids, one of the first exercises is talking about who's your hero, who's somebody that's a hero. And earlier in my career, it was always like professional athletes or actors or actresses. And I just started it 2 weeks ago with one of my classes, and 90% was family. My mom, my dad, my aunt, my uncle. And I was like, oh, it was a shift. And I don't know if it was because of the work being done moving through from the elementary, but I think the community happens through the hard part in policy, and all these different pieces are hard because you don't get immediate change. It takes time. And I think the prescription model is, well, we can spend this money now and do this. But to invest in the future is hard because you don't see it. As a teacher that's been here for 19 years, I see it. The culture in my school, it's a tough spot sometimes. And there's some kids that are coming from a really, really tough background. But the culture, I feel, saves a lot of them because it's there. So I think outside of the school, it's tough for me because I'm so much on my island. But I see it in the community where we have parents joining their lovely children for events like this because it's important. But I think that we can have a shift in the school that then filters out and spills out into society.
I guess that's that prevention model, right? The prevention that that the panel before us was talking about. And if we're doing this within our schools and giving them the tools to build resiliency, to build their confidence, their friendships, then that's like the first step. Maybe let's hope that's the last step, right? So then they don't need those treatments or those recovery models as well. But I think that's probably what we were thinking about too, because now you go out in the community and you're going to be promoting this. You're promoting your confidence. You're promoting who you are. And of course, when things do go bad, which is inevitable, just like snow, we're going to be ready for it, right? We're going to put on our winter tires. We're going to put on our tools that we need for winter. Well, we need to do that for our inevitabilities that are going to be coming. There's going to be people that are going to put you down. There's going to be people that are going to be looking the other way. It's going to happen. But what are you going to do when that does happen? So then we give them the tools. We give them the resiliency. We give them the water. You got gifts and abilities and that desire to succeed. And we give them that positive growth mindset as well.
Great, thank you. Did you want to answer that, or I have another question for you? Okay, so my question is, we've talked about how students respond to this. I'm curious if you have stories about how either parents or teachers have noticed a change in kids who go to the Heroes program.
Yeah, we're lucky enough that it isn't through wellness that we do our Heroes program. We're able to just pull them out of any subject, and we just have the time in the library, and we do it in a different location. And it's just a breath of fresh air when they come in. They got facilitators that they don't normally have. I was lucky enough to be working with Jordan for a few years as well. So having external presenters, oh, who's that guy? And then they realize that his story is in the book. And when he's telling the story, and then they're like, oh my God, this guy turned out all right. And he went through all that. And you can just hear a pin drop in the classroom there. So they're like, wow, this is insane. This is insane. But as a program in Riverview Middle School, we can see the difference. The terminology is ingrained into our community now, and these guys have the tools to move on and really realize what their finding is, or what their being is, or what their identity is. And it's a pleasure. Do you know what, as well, which is on this little side, and I'm going off script here, but Halloween happened a few weeks ago, right? And everyone dresses up as the hockey players, Spider-Man, whatever. And I only teach these kids for 12 chapters. That could be like 14 weeks, once a week. But maybe 10 kids dressed up as me for Halloween. So as a hero, I was their hero because they identified something in me as their facilitator that they're genuine, right? They dressed up with the ugly shirts that I wear, and they put saran wrap on their head and glasses with the eyes pushed out, and we had a photograph. If you want to see the photograph, I'll show it to you. But that says a lot, that they felt that connection, that vulnerability, the engagement we had, and how they performed in class, and just having fun with it and saying, it's okay. You can put your hand up. There's no right or wrong answer. Let's do this. So all I say is, with Heroes, it should be a staple in education right now. It should go English, math, Heroes. That's when you clap.
We have about 5 minutes left, and I understand there might be a question or two from the floor. And if there is, we can receive it.
Well, we're lucky enough that we've been doing it for like 4 years now. So it started off with one pilot class, and that went really well. I think I was the only person that paid attention in the training. And then no one else was like, oh, I can't take this on. And I was like, let's do this. So I spoke to my principal, let's try this, give me a chance. We did one classroom, and now we do it across the whole of grade 7, and now we're hitting the whole of New Brunswick now. So what was your original question? Every one of them, I would say. Even grade 6s, when they come in, they're like, that's the guy. You're going to do the Heroes thing. You're going to get that sweaty slice of pizza when we graduate from Heroes. You're going to get the certificate for being the hero of the whole chapters, the journey. So they look forward to it, and they're talking about it already. So did that answer your question? Thank you.
Yeah, at our school, every grade 7, grade 8 gets the program. So Heroes, and then the Heroes 2. So as they move through, the grade 9s have been through it. And it's just, so I would say every student that was there in grade 7 and 8 gets ours.
I think there's definitely that support there for sure. Schools are always open for students that not only not necessarily drop out or just not attending, and just making sure that they know that we're there for them. And you know what? At 26, they still come back and see this guy, right? So they know who we are and where we're at. They know our what we support as well. But we're always making sure that our students are supported. We know where they're at. And if they are dropping out, we know where they're going as well. We're always in contact with parents, always in contact with guardians and supports that they do have, and being sure that they have supports leaving this school as well, and especially those vulnerable ones. So there's organizations that are out there that are in partnerships with schools, and they are making sure that when they do leave, especially the ones that need that support, that it's there. But you know what? It still needs to build a heck of a lot more. Yeah.
Well, that was my last question, is what needs to happen to build this program, scale it, let it get to grow? What is your advice?
For us, we've been fortunate enough to been supported for my 19 years of teaching. And so I've got a lot of friends in a lot of different schools that aren't as fortunate, right? Because they just weren't part of it right from the get-go. So just that getting it out there more, right? And it requires so much work. Again, I've got the easy job. I sit there and I go through and I talk to the kids and build relationships. They're doing the hard work behind the scenes and getting the books and getting it out there and doing the training, like over on the East Coast. Like, that's amazing. I didn't know that it had gone that far. So for me, it's just getting it out there, because as soon as it's out there, I haven't talked to anybody that has been like, oh, that's not for us. Everybody I've talked to, it's just they want to grow it more and more. So just getting it out.
Yeah, I was just going to make a comment about mental health and just the literacy of it all as well. To build those definitions, the words that they can use, the words that they can find that they haven't really used before either, but gives them permission to say those words, and gives them empowerment as well. So we can, if I wanted to build up more, it would be building up more mental health supports within each school, but perhaps even a mental health class that teaches about that literacy, resiliency, and maybe that's where Hero needs to go next.
Neil, you get the last word.
Oh, no pressure. I'm just thinking it just needs to have exposure. It needs to reach the students. It needs to reach the educators, and everyone just needs to have a chance. I'm lucky enough and privileged enough that my son is at Riverview Middle, and I'm able to teach my son, and I'm getting live reports and go, okay, how was I today? Did I do all right? And he's like, you did a great job, Dad. Everyone loves it. So if that isn't better feedback, I don't know what it is. And kids don't lie, they know. They're genuine. The three at the back there, straight away, I felt so much more comfortable talking to you guys tonight than anyone else in this room. But straight away, they knew exactly what we were talking about when I referenced Heroes. So.
Don't give them too much credit. They've been trying to make me laugh this whole time. I'm getting eye contact. I'm like, yeah, busted.
Well, I want to thank you guys for doing this and being an amazing crew, and thank you very much for all you do in the schools around this country. And we have now 15 more minutes, and we are going to have a short awards program, and I'm going to ask Jordan to come on up and take over the mic and give us your story about all these award recipients.